Let's get right to the mailbag. The last mailbag before the 2022 midterms. You can email info@davidpakman.com. Sometimes we'll highlight a YouTube comment or a Twitter message or Facebook message. It really could be anything, but it's mostly email. And the email address is info@davidpakman.com. Let's start today with a message from Fred. No, this is the wrong one. That's for later. Here is the one I wanted to start with. David, dear Mr. Pakman, they say, I was attempting to listen on YouTube to the Fetterman-Oz debate. However, your constant comments and biased interjections and opinions are extremely troubling. Are they really? Troubling. I should be careful. Are you wanting to convince your listeners to follow your partisan views? Not sure how you can be a leader of a show in this capacity and expect to be successful. As a reporter, you should be more balanced and especially not give your comments. This is another right-winger who doesn't have a clue what's going on. I am not a reporter. This is a commentary show. This show can only be successful if I give my opinions. Now, am I trying to convince people? Whatever. I'm just giving my opinions. It's not troubling that an opinion person gives opinions. And in fact, it's not about expect to be successful. We've got nearly 2 million subscribers across all of our platforms. Actually, more like 2.2 million across all of our platforms. So there are people who are furious when I give my opinion, but that's what the show is. And again, it's that lack of media literacy. There is no news show here. This is an opinion show. It's an opinion podcast where I give my opinion. I got another email about the debate coverage. And we've been getting a lot of these because what happens is people look for the debate. And sometimes when you type in, Oz Fetterman debate, our live stream can come up in the first few results on YouTube. And so people who have no clue about our show will just click over to it. And then they stumble across me and here I am making comments. How dare I? And so people get confused and they write in and they prefer me to just sit there silently, not saying anything. Joe S., who misspelled his own name, after listening and watching you on side screen, it is very well seen that you are a Demorat. I believe this is Joseph, and what Joseph is trying to say is that after watching me on the side of the screen alongside the debate, it became obvious to him that I am a Democrat. Now, I know I'm correcting 6 or 7 different things there to come up with that interpretation, but I feel like it's probably accurate. I am not a Democrat. And if you want someone who just says nothing during the debates, there are endless other free streams that you can find. One more, and this is an actually interesting and productive comment about the debates. Twitchell says, why is it after a debate where the Democrat destroys the Republican, nothing changes with polling? But if a Democrat doesn't do well, the polls tip towards the Republican. It would seem swing voters would be the reason, but why are Democrats held to a higher standard? This is absolutely the case. And I know that there are so many right-wingers who will reject the notion that Democrats hold candidates to a higher standard than Republicans. It is undeniably true in every way. Let's talk through it. Donald Trump could never have been the Democratic nominee. Democrats would not have accepted an obvious con man grifter from the business world who isn't even particularly good at business, but he was just given a great head start with a small loan of $1 million and much more help with his dad. Democrats never would have accepted Trump as a nominee because their standards are higher. I'm not a Democrat, but I'm just telling you that that's the reality. The only electorate that would be so low information and bamboozleable that Trump could trick them into nominating him is the Republican Party, because their standards are significantly lower. Their standards are, do you claim to be against abortion, even when you're obviously not? And Trump did that. Do you claim to be religious, even when you're obviously not? Trump did it. Okay. Can you attack the right people to make us a Mexican rapist and all this stuff? Trump did those things. The standards are way lower. I have to tell you, it's similar to a fault, even with like the sexual assault stuff, where Republicans will often defend their own when they are accused of sexual assault and misconduct endlessly. Whereas, if anything, Democrats are too quick to condemn. Remember the Al Franken situation. The tasteless joke that Al Franken participated in was absolutely in poor taste. But immediate demands for Al Franken to resign, which he did, Democrats arguably went too far because their standards are so much higher than those of Republicans. So that's why the debates matter in the way that Twitchell is saying. Astute observation. Alan wrote in. This depresses me, okay? This really depresses me. Alan wrote in and said, you say you want subscribers? You say it's free? There is no way to subscribe without paying. What kind of scam are you running?
Oh, the bonus show where you want to make money. Everybody else that makes money to fund themselves is bad.
Yeah. Listen, as I've said before, it is free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have over 1.5 million YouTube subscribers. As much as it would be amazing to have 1.5 million paid subscribers, we don't, okay? It is free to subscribe on YouTube. It is free to subscribe on YouTube. You just hit subscribe, it's free. I've said, subscribe to the podcast. It is free to subscribe to the podcast. We produce it every day, every weekday, and it is free. It's on iTunes, Spotify, et cetera, et cetera. The one thing that you pay for is to become a website member. Yes, you do pay for that. But folks, I'm not scamming anybody. It's really free to subscribe on YouTube. It is really free to subscribe to the podcast. It's free to like us on Facebook, to follow on Twitch. All those things are free. But to become a website member, you do pay. All right? Please, 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 let's be clear. I can't tell whether this email is serious, but it seemed like it was. As I mentioned last week, we are working on a white paper with techniques for how to talk about politics with people in your family or coworkers, whatever. The term white paper is a typical, well-known term. I got an email from someone saying, my opinion, but I would never call a document a white paper. It sounds very KKK-ish. I do love your show besides this mistake, I hope. I hope, yes. I'm deliberately using a racist term, white paper. Folks, I don't know if this is serious. A white paper is a completely established and well-known term. It's an informational document that a company uses to highlight something, to highlight research about an issue or to highlight a product or a service or a market opportunity or whatever. It's a completely benign, banal term. It's a white paper. I don't know if this viewer genuinely thinks that it might be a racist term. I just got to move on, folks. I can't even deal with it. Okay. It's just a white paper. Raymond wrote in about my interview with former Scientologist Mike Rinder. Now, Raymond is a Scientologist. It might not shock you to hear that Raymond isn't happy with my Mike Rinder interview. Raymond wrote in, David, I watch your channel for info on recent political events, but your recent interview with Mike Rinder is one-sided. You have someone who's trying to make money on his experiences with Scientology. I don't see you trying to get to the other side of the coin and interview an executive from Scientology. Or better yet, why don't you pay a visit to a church of Scientology? So listen, no Scientology executives are going to come on the show, first of all. And secondly, visit a church? Come on, dude. Give me a break. At this point, I started to think maybe this is a Scientologist. Seems to me Mike has a problem with the management of the church. And instead of straightening out his disagreement, but air his differences on your program and write a book to make money. Yes, that sentence makes no sense, but I'm reading it as written. I gave you more credit than maybe you deserve if you don't give both sides the same platform. I have been a Scientologist for 43 years. There it is. And has changed my life and gave me the tools to deal with life successfully. I've researched all of those tools. They're all a scam. I hate to tell you, Ray. Ray goes on to say, currently and for about 15 years, we don't always agree with the upper management of the church, but to go to the media and take your disagreements is irresponsible. So, David, I challenge you. Go find out on your own. Either visit a church, find out yourself, or read a book and see for yourself. I dare you. LOL, sincerely, Ray. I've read 5 books about Scientology. I've interviewed 10 Scientologists. I've seen 10 documentaries about Scientology. Have I visited a church? No. Would the sanitized experience I would get if I was even allowed to visit a church really tell me anything about Scientology? No. But I understand. Scientologists don't like interviews critical of Scientology that question the cult. Fred wrote in and said, David, I've got to say, for this to be a progressive show, I have been shocked that you have not covered the Arkansas governor debate, where Sarah Huckabee Sanders is going against an MIT PhD Democrat, Chris Jones, who is the epitome of form over substance and Pakman show ideals in many ways. Their debate was today and it will re-air tonight. So listen, I hate to kind of like end on a negative note here. We can't cover every debate. That race is not even close. The Arkansas gubernatorial debate, AR governor polling RCP, it's like crazy. Yet Sarah Huckabee Sanders is winning by double digits. Okay, it's I get it. Chris Jones is an interesting candidate. We streamed like 15 debates, mostly close races that could end up making a difference in the balance. We just can't do everything. We can't do everything, and that race isn't close. Would I love to be able to cover more? Sure, but we've got to pick and choose. So I'm sorry, Fred, but it is not an indication of any kind of our progressive stature that we were not able to cover that debate. All right, info@davidpakman.com. Send in your thoughts for the mailbag. We have a great bonus show coming up for you today, which you can instantly access by signing up at joinpakman.com.